Thank you. Today's topic is very interesting, and we begin off by this very program for the new president. May I invite Malvika Rai, President Flo, to give her welcome remarks.
A very good morning to all of you. I'm very impressed because when I was sitting here quietly alone here and at 11:15, I saw members walking in and I said, okay, everybody is going to be on time today. So thank you very much for being here. I welcome you all for the first program of 2013-14 and I look forward to greater participation and interaction with each one of you. In fact, we have on every Tuesday 4 to 5 member interaction over a cup of coffee. And you're more than welcome to come and join anytime you all want to. I would also encourage you to visit the website, FICCIflow.com, regularly and see the updates on Facebook and on Picasa, where we keep updating what's happening at Flow. Flow celebrates its 30 years this year, and we have 3,500 members across 10 chapters. Just let me give you a little overview for the year, where we're having a program on 8th of July, which is on relationships, and on 13th of July, which is on going for a visit to the airport and having a cup of coffee with Mr. Rao also. So these are the two programs. We have a delegation to Uzbekistan, which is on end of August. And this is the first time we are having the interstate in Delhi in 30 years. So it's going to be a 2-day program on 19th and 20th of December, where we'll have socials, we'll have educational programs, and we are going to have some off-sites. So it's going to be 2 days of networking, and it's all across all chapters. We are also going to be facilitating 30 Flow members. And this is a way from different fields, whether it's from business, entrepreneur, social. So we are going to be having that during that period of time. We are also thinking of a spouses retreat to Bhutan. So, oh, okay. That's going to be somewhere around the month of March. And we'll have a 2-day management program, which is with the International Business School. We're just formulating it, so we'll let you know as it comes across. I just wanted to let you know that yesterday we had a chance to take a very small delegation to meet Meera Kumarji, our Honorable Lok Sabha Speaker. And we had a very nice interactive session with her. And she would like us to work with their parliamentary committee on empowerment of women. And so we will take this forward. And in fact, she's accepted this, which we're going to have a white paper on it and submit it to her, creating a climate of respect, keeping women safe. Now that's the hour of today, and we're going to work on it, and we'll take it. If anybody is interested, do send me a mail or something, and we'll catch up on that. Okay, that's the housekeeping part of it. Now let me come back to the topic of discussion for today. Making a difference to my family and business. This topic explores the leadership, success plan, management, family, career, and personal issues found in family-owned and managed companies. It helps us to survive and strive for future generations. I had a chance to also meet Professor John L. Ward. He's an expert on strategic management, business leadership, and family enterprise continuity. And he said, family business cultures are stronger than other business cultures because the values on which they are built on are different. They are more durable, more powerful, and more meaningful to the organization. Over the last decade, family business management has grown into a vast science by itself. Most of the business families face unique management challenges because of the difference in the attitude and aspiration of family members. Friends, today we have 3 distinguished speakers amongst us, Mr. Anil Sainani, Mr. Ashish Bharatram, and Mr. Vishesh Chandiok. I will leave the introduction to Vishesh to give it later. I'm going to introduce Vishesh, who's going to be the moderator for today. Besides being a very good friend and agreeing to be here with us today, Vishesh is the partner head of India at Grant Thornton, India. As part of Grant Thornton India's management board, he is involved in overall practice management of the firm, including developing new service lines, growth and development within existing service lines. With nearly 15 years of experience, a part of which he specialized in international standards on auditing and US gas, and has always served several premier organizations across industries. And one of his passion is also to be part of on family business also. So it will be a great opportunity for all of us to understand the subject in a better perspective with significant inputs from the stalwarts. While each family's situation is unique, there are many practices which can be shared and applied to all family businesses. I am sure this session will equip us to understand better the management concepts and techniques for meeting the distinct challenges in managing a successful growing family business. May I take the liberty on behalf of our esteemed panelists to assure you all that after today's session, our questions would be answered, our fears would be reduced, our apprehensions would be fewer, and our awareness would be greater. Thank you. I hand over the mic to Vishesh.
Right, ladies, and I guess the half a dozen gentlemen who were brave enough to be here this morning. Thank you very much for making the time to be here to hear this interactive session on family business management, how you can help make a difference to your family and the business that your family members are involved in, that you are potentially involved in. I heard from Malvika, you are going to the airport, then you're going to Bhutan, then you're going to Uzbekistan, and I think just putting that into context, obviously a lot more exciting things than hearing something like this. But this is probably the reason why you're able to do those things. So that's why you are taking the right first step to hear how you can help make a difference to the family and to the business. So let me start with introducing our two main speakers and tell you a little bit about the format of the session today. Anil Sainani is the leading advisor to families and businesses that are managed by families. He's worked with families from the south, like the GMR family, from the west, like the Godrej family, from the north, like the Munjals, and several other families. Professor John Ward, who Malvika again referred to, who is the best known global advisor, refers to Anil as the best Indian advisor on that subject. Anil is a visiting faculty at all the leading business schools in the country on the subject. And actually, Anil's the author of an amazing, very easy read book called The Triumph of Togetherness. It's a very simple book that Ashish told me he's even encouraged his children to read already. It's about family togetherness and how do you keep the family together, which is the starting point of business success and other things that follow. The amazing thing about Anil is that he comes from a business family himself, a family that's gone through the ups and downs. He's not a consultant and a sort of professional advisor. He's experienced those things personally, and he's there from that personal perspective. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Anil Sainani. Ashish Bharatram, of course, requires no introduction, not only because of the better half in his life, who all of you are familiar with, but also he comes from one of the oldest and most well-known families in the north, a family that has seen the ups and downs over the years and has certainly learned from them, from what I know. Ashish is the managing director of SRF, the leading industrial products company in the country. More than being the MD of SRF, Ashish is probably the most passionate promoter of the subject of families needing to do something about putting in place governance for the family before they deal with the business. Ashish has been the chair of the Family Business Network of YPO, something he's handed over to me now. It's very, very large boots to fill, which I'm still grappling with. And again, Ashish has tremendous personal experience to share, a journey he's been on, probably for over 10 years now. So, ladies and gentlemen, Ashish Bharatram. The oldest family business in the world is a business called Yochi Hotel. It's a Japanese family business that started sometime in the 800s. It's in its 50th generation now. 50th generation. It's been in the same family over 50 generations. And they've obviously did something right to be able to keep that business in the same family and keep the family together. The largest business in the world is also a family business in some ways. It is Walmart. Right? It's nearly a $500 billion business. That's 500 billion nearly. And Sam Walton and his third generation still sit on the board. They're not involved with the day-to-day management. They still sit on the board and own more than 50% of Walmart. So there are businesses overseas, there are businesses in India that have learned to do certain things right to be able to scale up their businesses over time. Intrinsically, the value systems between family and the value systems between the business are diametrically opposed to each other. The family value systems are most akin to socialist systems. Everything is equal. Being fair is being equal. Business value systems are exactly the opposite. You need to either perform or you leave. Businesses need to embrace change to be competitive. Families thrive in legacy and history. This is how we've always done things. You are born in a family, you die within that family. In a business, again, you need to deliver, or you need to make way for somebody else. When those two, systems come together in a family business, there is inherent conflict, right, that comes up. And that conflict is there in 100% of cases. It is not there in one and not the other. It is there in 100% of cases because of that natural difference in the value systems. And it's about recognizing that difference and how to manage those conflicts that this subject is all about. And first, I'd like to congratulate all of you for recognizing that you are not unique. If anybody here believes that they are in a family business and those issues are not there, you need to share that with me because you'll be the first ones that I'm aware of. So the format for the session today, and to hear more about these issues and how people have managed that conflict and therefore thrive over the years, will be Anil will give us a quick brief of the theory on the subject, a little more detail. So Anil will present to us for about 10 minutes. I will then ask Anil and Ashish some questions. And since this was supposed to be an interactive session, I certainly hope you'll make my job easier and help me with the interaction with them. So ladies and gentlemen, Anil Sainani with his presentation. Anil.
Is this on? So thanks Vishesh for the kind words. Thank you Malvika ji for giving me this opportunity. And thank you ladies and gentlemen for being here so early in the morning on a working day. 11 o'clock, I guess, for coming for a session is early. I think I have just 10 minutes to, give you the theory of the subject. So before I get into that, one small thing about myself, about that book also was, what I would like to share is, for me, the purpose of my life, what drives me, is to understand human behavior. And family is a place, where we experience behavior, business, in all its varieties, in all the emotions. And how people sort of enjoy and also go through trials and tribulations. So for me, understanding the human emotions and human behavior is something which really drives me, and I'm really, I enjoy this work. So today I see as an opportunity where in the interactions which we have, we would sort of, or I would go back taking some of the insights from you all. So in terms of the session today, the first, I will be throwing light on 5 points. First and foremost, how does learning happen? You are all here for learning, taking away something from this session. That is what Malvika ji also said, that, your questions getting answered. So how does learning happen? How do we learn? Second is about the challenge and the opportunity in being part of a family business. Third, while Vishesh has, addressed about the conflict between a socialist system and a capitalist system, I would go a little deeper in terms of what is the root cause. And that root cause, once we are clear on that, the solution is also pretty simple. Then the next level of what and how, what is to be done, and what exactly are the simple steps which one can take, and the challenges on way. So before we get into that, I think accidentally also this slide came up while Malvika and Vishesh were there. I would request all of you to please think for a moment and write down what is that you want by being here. You'll be spending close to 2 hours in the session here, and you would have invested another hour or so in coming and going back. So we would want you to go away with some value. And what is important is that, this value can only happen if you are clear what do you want. So my request to all of you would be, take a moment, either write it down on paper or in your mind. Think, what's your question? My guess is it might get answered when Vishesh asks us the questions, or if it doesn't get answered, you will have the opportunity, and that will be the real value of the session. There is enough theory, enough information available on net or otherwise. The real value can be in you getting your specific question answered. Please take a moment. I'm willing to, cut down on my 10 minutes. Okay, so let me move forward. Now, how does learning happen? If you read something, you get part of it, 20%. If you hear, see, discuss, and experience, your learning keeps going up. So the experience is when your question or when you are hearing something which is connected to your life. That's when the learning is deep. Also, how does change happen, or how do we apply the learning to our lives? There are 4 parts to it. First is, if you see a role model, if you see somebody who has gone through that process. The second is, you understand something, but that understanding is not leading to action. So as your understanding deepens and your conviction goes up, then it leads to action. That is step 2. Step 3 is when you are practicing what you have learned. And step 4 is you are creating mechanisms of reinforcement where whatever you have learned. So like if we see sports, people practice and then they go through coaching camps. So coaching camps before the tournament is a kind of structure which is reinforcing. So here also, whatever you will learn, it needs to go through these 4 stages. That is where, the real value comes in. Now, why this session? I guess all of you would have heard that in different languages of the world, different major cultures of the world, there is a saying whose equivalent, or in Indian terms, is Kothi ki umar 60 saal. translated into simple English, a family business does not last beyond three generations. Now, this is what is an equivalent saying is there in all cultures of the organization. Now, why do family businesses, intelligent people find the business, it requires hell lot of time and effort to create a business out of nothing. And these are extraordinary people. Then how come their efforts get wasted or go away or get destroyed in 3 generations? To me, what this is like is captured in this slide. And what Vishesh was saying, I'll say it differently, is all families, all organizations will always have differences. There are no 2 humans on this earth who agree always on everything. Whether it is husband-wife, whether it is mother-daughter, whether it is father-son, whether it is brother-sister, there will be differences. Is there anyone who disagree with me? There will be differences. Okay. Now, how do we deal with differences? So there are 2 paths. One is we deny that there are no differences. We ignore, छोड़ दो इसको, कुछ नहीं होता है. हर चीज को थोड़ी नहीं address कर सकते हैं. So let me, and there is wisdom in this also. Then we say, put it under the carpet. This is not the right time. I'll deal it after some time. So what is happening is differences are getting accumulated. And with passage of time, they start accentuating and now and then they explode. So in the process, differences lead to disagreements, disagreements leads to conflict, and conflict might lead to hostility and split. So 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 60 years is a period by which, small things neglected lead to hostility and split. That's the one path. The other path is where people accept that yes, there are differences and there will be differences and it is good to have differences. Because if you have an idea and I have an idea, we exchange, we will have 2 ideas, maybe 3 ideas. So let me understand your point of view. Let's communicate. I'll make you understand my point of view. And let's develop an alternative which is based on your point of view and my point of view. That is the path of growth and perpetuation. In fact, what I say is, at one level, all problems are problems of communication. Nobody says that, you cut your right arm and give it to me. We are fair in our expectations, but misunderstandings happen. So all problems are essentially communication problems, and they can be resolved only through communication. So coming to the specifics, how do we preserve and grow the family business? There are many family businesses, and I guess all of you are aware, who have, survived not only beyond 3 generations, but 50 generation is the example of the oldest family. So what they have done is, knowingly or unknowingly, they have embarked on a journey, what we call family governance. Now this journey has 2 parts. Part 1 is when you develop a family constitution. This typically takes about 4 to 6 months is the shortest time, it can take longer. And second stage is a lifelong process where you live the constitution. In developing the constitution, in the process what happens is, whatever muck is there in the relationships, what is discomfort is there, gets cleaned up. Family members have clarity on all critical questions. So whatever is the question of each family member is raised, discussed, and a clear aligned answer is found. In the process, families also experience an attitudinal shift. And the broad shift is, instead of saying, problem hai aur main kya karun ya main kya kar sakta hu, maine sab kuch kar liya, the shift is, what can I do about it? Who can help me in this? How can we move forward? So that's the change in attitudes. And also it leads to creating structures like a family council, a family business board, and various people entrusted different responsibilities to continue, or whatever is agreed on policies is actually implemented. So this is first stage of developing the constitution. The second stage is of living the constitution. Once you have the document, which is agreed, which is owned by everybody also, in reality, in implementation, you will have challenges. So simple resolutions, simple pious resolutions, also promises which we make with ourselves, we break, yes or no? So herein, creating that accountability and ensuring accountability in the family is not an easy job. And it will require lifelong practice of living what you have promised to, which will lead to breakdowns and at times breakthroughs. What does family governance mean? It means it is not about me, but it is about an institution. So family governance is less about me, or the shift in attitudes, what happens is, it is about my family, my business, which is larger than me, which is an institution, which is not dependent on me, which will outlive me. It is about creating alignment between family. Now, alignment is not equality, that everybody becomes equal. Alignment is different people have different roles and responsibilities, and we will learn to acknowledge, appreciate, and give space to each other, in people performing their responsibilities. Accountable, everybody is accountable to whatever has been agreed to. And adaptability is whatever we have agreed is not cast in stone. Everything's changed. Change is the only permanent thing. So as times will change, what is the process for creating a change in an agreed policy? How do we establish family governance? It is by co-creating the family constitution, and here the important word is co-creating. Everybody gets involved, and typically families involve, even children above the age of 15, 16 years these days. So discover the philosophy, what are our values, what is the purpose of the family, what is the purpose of the business, what are the behavior standards that we are committing, what are the policies, rights and responsibilities, obligations or responsibilities of family members, what are the privileges of being part of the family, how the roles and responsibilities of family members would be decided, how will wealth pass from one generation to another generation, can sons-in-law work in business, can daughters-in-law, how do we treat sons and daughters, all these questions are answered and policies created. Processes are created for accountability, for, how will we select, elect, or who will be the next chairman of the company, and creating structures like family council, family business board, various family committees or family coordinators. It might sound too complicated to all of you, but believe me, it's very simple. It's important that people know that who is responsible for which part of the work. Now, family governance is difficult. Why it is difficult? Because it is important but not urgent. So all important things first give you pain and no immediate pleasure. And the best example is health. If you go for walk, if you go to gym, first day immediately it will give you pain. And if you come back and weigh yourself on the scales, even 100 grams wouldn't have gone down. So doing these conversations is difficult. And initially it creates pain. It is hard work. Differences when they come up, when the dirt comes out, it creates discomfort for everybody. And subjecting oneself and others to accountability is also something which we are not adept at. So it is difficult. Journey, the family governance journey is moving from here to here. And what it requires is somebody like you sitting in the audience who says, I'll stand up and I'll make a difference. Thank you. So this is the opportunity for all of you to think, how can I sort of be the trigger, take the responsibility of initiating my family and business becomes an institution.